CNN, 12th of May 2023, Australia's Trade Minister travels in a hurry. China will advocate for complete trade restoration. After bullying and alienating countries worldwide, China is trying to mend its relations with the rest of the world. In light of this, it has attempted to mend its ties with Australia. 3 years after the relationship deteriorated when the previous government in Canberra demanded a probe into the causes of COVID-19, Australia's trade minister arrived in China to advocate for lifting restrictions from its principal trading partner. According to the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, Trade Minister Don Farrell arrived in Beijing on Thursday for a 3-day trip to meet with his counterpart, Wang Wentao. An Australian trade minister is making their first trip to China since 2019. In a statement, the minister promised to seek to remove outstanding obstacles to the movement of commodities between the two nations. China is in severe need of Australian goods. He continued, "I will vigorously promote the full and unhindered restoration of Australian exports to China, for all sectors, to benefit both countries." The visit demonstrates how Australia is working to strengthen ties with Beijing in the wake of Canberra's leadership shift last year and as the second-largest economy in the world attempts to reopen. China was Australia's top commercial partner in 2022, with trade between the two nations totaling $287 billion Australian dollars, $192 billion, according to information provided by the Australian government. Australia is a significant exporter of commodities like iron ore, essential to China. However, the two sides clashed in the spring of 2020 after Canberra, under the leadership of then Prime Minister Scott Morrison, demanded a global inquiry into the causes of COVID-19, which infuriated Beijing, who punished Australia with sanctions for seeking the truth. Since then, China has imposed strict import restrictions on Australian goods, including beef, barley, wine, and coal. As a result, according to data from Chinese customs, Australian exports to China decreased by 13% in 2022 compared to the previous year. But once Anthony Albanese was appointed Prime Minister in May of last year, ties improved, resulting in the resumption of coal, cotton, and copper trade, as observed by Farrell. Data indicates a sharp upswing. The value of shipping from Australia to China in March reached a new high of $19 billion Australian dollars, $12.8 billion. Despite China's apparent coercion and unreliability, difficulties persist. The Foreign Ministry of Australia mentioned the ban on selling Australian barley last month. It stated that since 2020, China's 80.5% duties on Australian barley have effectively blocked exports to that market. Before the issue, the government reported that annual barley sales to China were valued at $6.13 million, or $916 million Australian dollars. By filing a case with the World Trade Organization in 2020, Canberra contested the tariffs. But in a show of goodwill last month, Australia agreed to put the case on hold, claiming that China had consented to an expedited assessment of the measures after conversations between the two countries. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong stated, "If the duties are not lifted after the review period, Australia will resume the dispute in the WTO." Canberra is also pressuring Beijing to free Australian TV host Cheng Lei, who marked 1,000 days in prison this week after being detained on espionage accusations. The accusations against her have not been made public by the authorities. China has made it clear that it wants to advance. At a news conference on Thursday, its foreign minister stated that the nation stands ready to work with Australia,